General, GP Mafia, Vamp Life Empire in the building. Big shout to Push. You already know we out here.
And you already know when you hear that Vamp Life. Go ahead and let them know where that Vamp Life come from if they don't know what that Vamp Life represents.
Well, Vamp Life, that's Jim Jones' label. That's, Branch of Empire Records. And, that's New York City. We out here. Branch, Dipset, all of that.
All right, cool. So this is our first time linking up, so we're gonna start from the beginning and just get on how you even got to Atlanta, because I'm an Atlanta native, so everybody know I'm gonna try to put on for the city first.
Already.
So let people know how you got to Atlanta, what you do and what you're trying to do, and then we're gonna get into the nitty gritty as we go through.
Already. Well, God is good, first and foremost. How I got to Atlanta was a female, actually, who's now, I'm with her. We've been together for a minute, got children and everything. I was trying to change my life. New York was a little, well, it wasn't a little, it was rough, it was wild at the time. And, I lost a cousin and a friend of mine, my best friend, took a charge for the team in reference to something that could have gotten a bunch of people, locked up on some conspiracy stuff. So when, I witnessed that the Lord removed me from that situation, I know I needed to do something different with my life. And the female who I met, she was living in Atlanta. She came to see me in NY, so I was like, yo, I'm gonna go out there. She was popping. Ended up being the best move of my life because it ended up saving my life, in a way. So ATL is like my second home. I'm a Bronx, New York cat, but I always give homage and props to just that thinking and stepping outside of the box. Because, my cousin got murdered and my best friend, was about to go to jail, and he had just got shot up. He had a colostomy bag, which some people call a shit bag. So, we young cats going through stuff, and I'm watching my main man have to use the bathroom through his stomach, you know what I'm saying? So life was kind of bugging. It was bugged out, and we wasn't even like 20 and we young as hell.
It seemed regular. I'm sorry to hear that tragic. That's crazy, especially coming from up top. I know how crazy it is to get out of that weird false masculinity. I don't know what New York got when it comes to men and us trying to survive up there. It's like false masculinity. We teach our youngins the wrong thing, and it just leads to what you just said, tragedy and people trying to start their lives over in other places. So fortunately you came down to the A where, home of hospitality and fat asses. So
yeah, you got a lot of those.
Yeah, all over the
fat
place. Asses will get you right, especially that shit how you put your guns down quick.
They get you in trouble too. They get you in trouble too. Like, you gotta be careful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so when you came down here, like as far as working, because Atlanta is a city, but it's still a country. It's not as fast as New York. We still idolize New York as far as modeling our business after, but we starting to take over because, up top, they too selfish. Y'all kill each other. So we just gonna clean up and learn. And the New Yorkers who want to live that move down here, we peep game. So what was one of the first quote unquote hustles that you got down here in Atlanta?
Well, that's a great question. I ain't gonna front now too. ATL cut up too. I ain't gonna act like ATL. Ain't no walk in the park in Atlanta. Like, I know New York bad, but I know some situations in Atlanta places that just as bad as New York.
Oh, yeah.
To be real. But to answer your question, when I first got here, I met one of my producers. I was really trying to get away from the street stuff. That was like my initial plan, you know what I'm saying? We always get dragged into street stuff just because it's our nature as men to try to find other ways to cut corners and get money. And that's really what motivates that, for most of us who's honorably out here trying to, get it for a cause. Then you got those who's out here trying to just be out here for the lifestyle, and they ain't really getting no money. They just in the way or making problems and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But one of my first hustles when I came out here was like, I got into the real estate. And since I was a high school dropout, but I was a smart kid. I just was rebellious. I just really got kicked out of high school, went to alternative school in New York, and then I got kicked out. My mother moved to Jersey, so I was in high school in Jersey for a minute, for like 2 years. Got kicked out of that school, went back to New York. They got sent to alternative school, and that's like that ain't really school. That's just like a meeting.
That's trap. That's big. That's big. We know about that.
That's a meeting of gangsters.
Yeah. That's just gonna teach me how to scam better.
Yeah, because you go to class and it's like ain't nobody going to the class. A bunch of gangsters meeting up
playing
in the
dice
hallway.
in the bathroom.
Yeah, but it was cool because I met a lot of cool people there. You know what I'm saying? And you'd be surprised who you meet. And not everybody's really bad. Some of us are just rebellious, or we're reacting from situations that we've gone through in our childhood, which was my case. You know, I was a smart kid, actually a good kid who had a good upbringing, but I had beef in the house with my step-pops, and me and him was physical, and it caused me and my mother to have issues. So I was rebelling against the house, the streets, everything. So got kicked out the house, got kicked out of school, and I'm in New York alternative school, ain't nothing but G's. And here I'm like, you know what? Let me just go take this GED test and get a job or something, because I was already smart. But you know how it is. My father was locked up all my life. Watching him being in the streets with my pops as an infant, you know, I was exposed to a lot, you know what I mean, in the crack era and all of that. So just seeing a lot and being traumatized with different things you've seen as a child, it shape you and it make you go a certain way. You know, you're going to probably go through in your environment. So coming out here, got into real estate, it was like something new. It was almost like going to college, because I learned so much about finances, life. So I took my hustle that I had from the streets, my gifted gab, my way of, you know, my ambition, my cutting corners, all of that, and I put a lot in the real estate, and did that for a few years. And I was still doing music, because I got with Milwaukee Black and 8-Ball MJG and Duprano. So with that being said, I was kind of I was like mentored by 8-Ball MJG. So coming from New York, being around legends, that was already big, because it's already popping. I'm like, I'm coming to the A. I'm at the show with 8-Ball MJG, and you know, I got Big Do, I got Milwaukee Black. So I'm like, yo, this shit is lit in Atlanta. You know, excuse my friend.
No,
I'm like, yo, it's lit. I'm like, yo. But I always knew, because in New York, the older guys in my block who the older hustlers, like the cats that was really getting money, they always leave in New York. They would go to the South, because you can make more, like when you go out of town. We used to call it OT. Like, yo, I'm going OT, stand for out of town. And they would come back with video footage of Freaknik and all this wild shit. So we used to be like, oh, this. So in New York, you thinking like it's a fucking party in Atlanta every day. You like, and I heard like all my real Atlanta street cats, cause I when I came here, I was in the streets. I was in Thomasville. I was in the gutter with the real gutter niggas. So you know what I'm saying? Cause I was Young LA was down with me at first, and Leland Austin at the time. We actually was the first cast to call him LA. Then he put the Young when he got to Grand Hustle. But that's my homie. Like we was he was down with us and stuff. So he brought me to Thomasville. So I had to be over by Thomasville in 4 seasons, and shit was popping over there. Something like I'm gonna keep it a stack. Like it was like. What made me comfortable about over there was it reminded me of New York, but it was different, because it was like a project, but it was a short project. It was like short, so it was like in New York, the projects go up to the dead clouds.
Yeah, we call it apartments.
Yeah. You're right. They was like, you're right. You're right.
It's everywhere. Most of that lifestyle is very similar, and like I said when we started, we model a lot of our morals off of up top. So to see y'all make a lot of mistakes, it was quick for us to recover from them. It was like, oh, don't slime your mans. Don't do that. Y'all had a lot of stories that were in the limelight that we got to read and we got to watch and we got to learn from it. Us not having much opportunity, because watching Up Top do everything. We watching Up Top do everything from music videos, the bad boy scene, having legends, and we knew we had our own legends down here, but we wasn't getting a look. So I definitely understand that transition. I'm half New Yorker, half Atlanta too. My father's side is all New York. My mother's side is all Chicago. I'm the only one from the South, so my parents give it to me all the time with how country and crazy transitioning stories as well. So we talked about real estate mixing with the music, and a lot of times people don't understand jumping into this music, especially when they taking their dreams in their own hands. Sometimes you gotta have a day job. you're gonna invest in yourself. Other people not gonna invest in you. You once they see you investing in yourself, and once they see you backing, you, then a few people might come along and help you, give you a quarter, give you a nickel here and there. So having that real estate, how were you able to stay with the music and stay with the real estate and not get discouraged messing with either of those?
Well, it was always a challenge from day one, but what I can say is I was taught entrepreneurship from young, and in New York, and in just up top here in New York, New Jersey, that tri-state area, that's like the thing. Everybody's kind of a hustler in their own way. Not everybody's a drug dealer, but a lot of people are. But you got a lot of people who are just hustlers. You might go up to New York and go on 125th. There's 100 dudes with a blanket on the ground and T-shirts and trinkets and bracelets, and they got everything for sale. Like everything for sale. You could go out there and get everything. It's like, so you see that as a child. It's if you're picking up, because not every kid picks up on everything, but me as a child, I was very observant. I picked up on a lot of things around me, so I always picked up on the hustler and the gangsterism of where I was from. So like they glorified Italian gangster lifestyle, even militant like lifestyle, such as the Islam Brothers and Malcolm and all of that is like where we're from. Information and militant and standing tall, and this is glorified in the realm I was raised in. But you have a lot of other elements that are still distracting. You got the streets, which is right there. Like you can't really miss it, because as soon as you go outside, you face with it. Like it's 100 dudes in your lobby, so you got to deal with it immediately. Like you deal with the situation. Your Jordans is fresh, you got to defend them, like period, because somebody want them, and there's another unfortunate kid and they upset and it's violent. So you got where I'm from, you got to defend everything. So it's like you got to be ready. So coming out here, I just had that mentality, but I learned a lot being in the South, because in the South, people are a lot more independent. Like people, got land and farms and what I learned in the South, you'll see younger guys who have vehicles, because you can't get nowhere easy. So you gotta learn how to drive early. Like you gotta kind of man up in certain areas young. In New York, it was different. We could hop on a train. So what I noticed, a lot of us, not all of us had cars when we were young. We run around the city though, because it's so easy to move. You get a cab, you get on a train. But so when I was coming to the South, I would notice different things. I said, okay, it's different. I mean, out here it's about property, and not even saying it's not like that where I'm from, but you see it more.
You can touch it here.
Yeah.
Up north is still what 100, 200 years of them running it. Down here, once we burn the city down, if you know the history of Atlanta, once we burn the city down and push them out, we took control of our city. That's why I just explained this to somebody. When I was in the military, I was in the military for like 10 years. And I used to love to tell people I was from Atlanta. And they never understood what that meant. And that just used to be like, I'm not the average nigga. I'm not your daddy's nigga. I'm not your granddaddy's nigga. I got a different type of thinking. I'm from the South, but I'm not a nigga. Like I have a city mind, because we understand, just like what you said, ownership, and you are in control of your destiny. Another thing, I was just watching Get On Up, and just looking at James Brown leaving the blueprint and who he was, and just Georgia breeds that in some type of way. We breed walking rebels for some reason, especially of color. We always want to, even it's shown in our black women when it's coming to these politics, but we've definitely been music groundbreakers. Any type of groundbreakers, it got to come through Atlanta. It got to touch us, or it's just like it used to be in the 90s with New York. If it don't come through us, it ain't authentic. So I wanted to touch on the music part. When did you realize, I understand, like, we all black, we all from musical cities, but everybody has their own moment when music hit them. When was that for you?
Music's been really hitting me all my life, but because in New York, we were exposed to it immediately. Meaning, as soon as you go outside, it's a cat on the corner rapping or with the drums, or everybody's doing something, because people were trying to get money sometimes. You might see a cat, on the corner with the drums, cold dude with some buckets. I mean, killing him, and he got a cup for some money, and people just giving him bread. So you would see like you see music everywhere you go in my city, like. But when it hit me was, really just watching like Rap City and all them like them little videos you would see as a kid. And you see people on TV, and me and my brother Ray, big shout to Young Ray, GB Mafia, who's my brother, and GB Mafia with me, and he's also on the record with me and Jim Jones, Zooyork Giants. Please download that. It's on all your platforms. But me and Young Ray, my brother, we would you know what I'm saying? We were like, and I got other brothers too, but all of us, we would like watch the TV, and we would want to beat the kids on the TV, especially like Chris Cross and all that. Like we would argue sometimes on who could rap whose verse in the car. You go home with your mom.
I definitely can relate to that, especially since you said Chris Cross just showing Atlanta a little bit more love. I definitely was the big back then. But
it wasn't just Chris Cross. It was so many. It was like we had Illegal, we had even KRS and them, Rakim and them, the older dudes. But what made it cool, like when you said what it changed for us, so when we saw kids our age, so at that point, that's when the love like really gets in, because when you see older cats, you respect it. You like, yo, that's hot. Yo, the big homies is da 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 da. But then you see a kid look like you be like, yo, I could do that.
Exactly. So I remember when I first heard Soulja Boy on the radio, and I was like, I watched Soulja Boy come up. I watched him do this.
Soulja Boy, yeah,
right,
exactly. Same thing. I remember when Soulja Boy. So, and when Soulja Boy, same thing. Like when Soulja Boy came up, it exposed me to the money. Like I was like, yo, this kid just got rich. Like to me, I was right. I was like, yo,
he ain't gonna pop. He ain't gonna pop. He ain't
son got rich
and got in our face.
On MySpace or something like that. It was, I think it was MySpace. Yeah. So you're right. I was just like, but when it hit me was more of when I started to do it myself. Was kind of one of my homies. His father passed. My man Hits. He was DJing. And back in the day, we was trying to do his DJ thing in New York, and I was like one of his best friends. And in New York, it's so crazy because if you ain't scared, because I'm gonna keep it real, it's funky, so you can't just go anywhere. But if you ain't scared, you can actually explore a lot in the city. But if you scared, you're gonna get booked when you go places, because cats gonna rob you, cats gonna see it in you, and cats is always looking for something weak to run down on or get. And where I'm from, like I said, you gotta defend it. You got a chain on, you better be ready to defend it, because somebody gonna try to take it. Unless they know your resume. Unless you're known for busting your gun or doing something, it's like, okay, who this, you know what I'm saying? Because it's too many cats. It's like I used to say when I was in Thomasville with my guys. Thomasville used to have, like you say, apartments, right? Apartments right there. That's one house next to each other. In New York, it's the same thing, but then multiply that by 10, because that's all on top of each other.
Yeah, because they go up.
So that's 10 times more families in the same little bit of space. So that's 10 times more niggas who think they tough. You feel what I'm saying? So now, so you finna deal with. So if you in Thomasville, you dealing with 10 Thomasvilles in the New York project, because it's so much on top. And when I peeped that demographic, I said, that's why. That will answer your question, where the aggressive energy come from, because it's so much competition. You gotta stay on your shit, because if you don't, you're gonna be fooled. Like, it's like if a dude tests you and everybody see it, and you get sunned. Oh, now everybody gonna try you.
So how were you able to parallel that mindset? Because just like you said, you naturally built that defense. A lot of goons and I listen to a lot of Riker stories, a lot of just where it went wrong stories when it come to men, because I have sons as well. So just trying to raise them and break generational curses. I listen to a lot of these testimonies. And when you came to the South, when did you realize you had to defend your style when it comes like blending the music? Because I know up north, when we hear boom bap, we already put you in a box. We already like, oh, okay. We know you're gonna stick. We know you're gonna be lyrical, but also the demographic is my man might not even went to school. We in the South. So my man might just have the whole melody, the whole church vibe, the whole singing like CeeLo, like Outkast.
I understand.
How were you able to defend and stand on your New York vibe down here?
Well, that's a great question, and that was a good a challenge for me when I came down here. But it was a good challenge, and it elevated my style because, in my opinion, now I'm from New York, but I was rapping over Southern beats like way before. I would say the only people I could say in my real talk who I could say was doing it before, like me and my crew that's in the game, I would say it was like Dipset and them, because Dipset and them were kind of rapping the Southern beats. They was giving the South love. And I ain't saying no other New York artist was, because you know Jay-Z and different people had their records with different people from the South. But when I came here, my producer, big shout out to Milwaukee Black, at the time, he was producing for 8 Ball and MJG, who are Southern legends. So, and I was like there while records were put together. I'm talking about big records, like the record on Too Fast, Too Furious that 8 Ball's rapping on, the Fast and Furious Part 2 soundtrack. My man Black did that beat, and that's a super hard record from 8 Ball. And I was witness the process, and you know our big brother Duprano, you know who made it all happen too, who was managing the situation. I was watching these the men that God put around me, and it was like a lesson. It was like going to music college, you know what I'm saying? So now Big Dude, he bringing us to this shows. So I'm like on stage with 8 Ball, like in the background, but because you know Ball got like 100 dudes with us at the time. I'm like one of the dudes with him. I'm a New York cat, but I'm with 8 Ball. So it was like, and when I was watching the rhythm in the texture of the Southern music, first and foremost, the South got some of the hardest beats in the game. So you can't help it because my mind got these hard ass bass and piano beat. Put your keys. This shit is hard as fuck. So if you a music cat, if you a music baby, you really a slave to the rhythm.
Exactly.
So
it's gonna take you.
Right. So you go get all in. Like you just can't help yourself but get involved. So what we learned at the time was it was hard because we was good. Like I was on. It was a group called the Backwoods who had a deal with Dallas Austin, who was my guys, Milwaukee Black group, and that was my homies, Big James and Big Shownuff and Big Mark. You know what I'm saying? And those are my guys. I mean, we was all cool. We was in the studio with them, and Milwaukee was producing them at the time. He's working on their project, and me and my brother and GP and all my crew, we was like the New York cats, but we had a Southern dude with us too. So we was like a New York South crew. That was always our thing, but. We had different Southern guys because Young LA ended up going to Grand Hustle and stuff, so it was all that. And that was my boy. It was like, ain't like he left nothing, but you know, life is good for him. He had an opportunity. We was happy for him. And at the time, we wasn't hanging out every single day, so it was all good. But we still cool. You know what I'm saying? And then we had another guy, you know, from Arkansas down with us. So we had different people who were in the South, from the South, in the group. So, and we was hanging down. We was with each other. Like it wasn't like we was just music. We was in the streets together. Like we were hustling, cause I was bringing my New York, my New York grind to my mans, and I was like, yo, they it was like my man's trap. But I'm like, yo, son, this how you, and it was like, oh, okay. And then I was, you know what I'm saying? Cause you know, so it was like, oh, okay. We was like the New York South thing. It was like this. It was like the New York. It was
understanding
like
that they could work together. So the first time I was able to even appreciate, I ain't gonna say the first time. I'm gonna say one of the main times. You touched on it. Dipset. Atlanta got so much love for Dipset, and I was in high school around the Dipset era. When I tell you, it was so many little Jim Joneses, so many little Camerons, so many little Jewelses around my school. The influence it was like that in New York crazy. Too, though. And we had our own people. But we was standing so tall with them. I've never seen. I don't think there will ever be another New York group that could touch the world like Dipset was able to touch the world and influence us the way it was, because you could even see Wayne even had to gravitate to it. Wayne was like, hold up. And we was standing tall on Wayne, Master P, you know, our legends from the South, 8 Ball, MJG, Pimp C, all that. We wasn't gonna budge. But Jadakiss, all of that, some things you just can't, once y'all mix it with that Southern flow, you can't deny it.
Exactly. And that's what I learned, like, that's what I was doing. With my producer, Milwaukee Black, it was hard being a New York artist in the South, but I was cool with most of the Southern dudes. And I was on the grind with them. Like a few of the guys, me and my dudes was like the dudes with the weapons watching their back. So it was like, a lot of dudes I held them down. So we tight. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it ain't like just music. It's like yo, that's my man. That's my dude. If they in New York, they good. If I'm in the South, I'm good. Cause it's like we really brothers. All of that division is whack. Like new movement is really love. Like you got to be small minded to really think just cause a dude is from another place or look a little different from you, he ain't your brother. If you black, that's your brother. You got to know your roots. So, like I said, working in the studio with Milwaukee Black, he had us rapping over Southern beats for like well over 10 years ago. So I was doing it for a minute. So, but we was keeping it, New York as well. We was rapping over New York beats too. But you got, and when in Rome, do as Rome. Like it's hard to like these. And one thing I realized when you go to these strip clubs out here, and you see these chicks bounce they ass, excuse my friends, to this motherfucking bass, you understand, okay, I need some strip club, or I need some.
You about to get lost in the sauce.
Right,
if the strip club don't play it. One of the new shows, P Valley. P Valley touched on that big time, and I wish that would have been geared more towards Atlanta than Mississippi. Even though Mississippi, they trying to come up, and Mississippi got some goons too. They ain't getting enough love, but strip club
Big
music.
Shout out to Mississippi.
Yeah, strip club music. You're not gonna lose. You're not gonna lose when you got a baddie on your side, and because we want to make music to feel. We want to make music for our friends. We want to make music for the boys. But when you see the masses jumping and you see them girls moving to it, it just feels it's a whole nother vibe. So we're gonna get on to the creating process because I know it's tons of studios in Atlanta. They in and out. So what's one of your first studio experiences, and then we're gonna touch on one of your craziest studio experiences here in Atlanta.
One of my first studio experiences is in Atlanta. Like it was different type of studio experiences because you have studio experiences where the most organic to me is the ones at the producer's house or because that's what one of my first studio experience out here was at my producer's house in his basement. While he was making records for 8 Ball and G, and also me and my guys, and different other groups. Just learning the song making process and what it takes to make a good record, opposed to just getting in the booth and doing you. And like my OG Duke Prano told me, he said you can't go buy me and your own records. So you gotta make music for people, you know what I'm saying? So that always stuck with me. And with that being said, learning my style and how you can adapt your style and relate it to other people, because it's not about how much you on your own dick, it's about how much people feel in you and can relate to you. And I think a lot of artists miss that and disconnect, and that separates the great artists from the average. It's like, yo, you gotta make music that the world could receive. You know what I'm saying?
So do you think, and this is just an open-ended question, do you think that if you come into somebody's personal space, you should be on your grind? Because this was a debate I had with other engineers and producers. Some people like to kick it with their artists and smoke and get the whole thing, and some people don't even like smoking with their artist. They just want to come in there, work, because they feel like I know a lot of engineers, they get tried. Even if like the quiet ones, if they don't say nothing, the artist will come in, try to smoke the session, milk the session, never get nothing from the session. So
well, that's a loss to the artist because and that's a great question as well. I believe that's on the engineer and how the engineer or the person that's running the studio runs their business. But if you're an artist that's serious about what you're doing, yes, you got to get in your vibe. Everybody records different. So some people, get they songs ready when they get there because they on the clock and they want to get in and get out. Then you got some dudes, sometimes you're trying to create a vibe in the studio. And if you're trying to create a vibe, then it takes a little time to get into that vibe of everybody in their zone, everybody creative, everybody feeling, because it's like a party, and that's the main thing you're trying to create is a vibe. But it really depends on that artist and that engineer's individual studio protocol and their experience. So if you're an engineer and you're saying, hey, I don't want no smoking in my studio, then you should have that as a rule for your studio. It should be posted on the wall in black and white where dudes can read and say, okay, no smoking. And they have to respect that you smoke outside, because I've been in studios like that what I have my own studio. I have more than one studio, and I've done that for those reasons because any true artist has to always stay creative.
We was touching on Vamp Life and how you got affiliated with them and how you just about to take off with this Vamp Life. Go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, it was good. Big shout out to Chant the General. Big shout out to Vamp Life. Big shout to Empire Distribution. And GP Mafia, Push, Go To Kilo, 730 More Work, Capone. First and foremost, team. You know what I mean? Big shout already. Okay, so to answer your question, sir, it was a blessing from God, to be honest with you, man. That's all I could really say. It was like I had this Zooyork record going, and I released a record called Shmoney Yo, and I had Zooyork as my B-side. And then another artist dropped a song called Zooyork, and a bunch of people started calling me, yo, somebody got something, TJ Fabio and them. And it was a dope song, you know what I'm saying? Great minds thinking like, I don't know if they got the information concept for me or not, but mine came out, but I didn't have the big machine label behind me, but I had Zooyork out already. So it was like, okay, the Zooyork song is a dope song, but I was like, damn, I don't know if I could rock it no more, cause so then I was actually, so I could just do a remix to that joint, like Zooyork Giants, you know what I'm saying? And where we could kind of try to give the song some more life, like bring birth to it, because it was a good record and people liked it. So I was like, damn, but I needed to get it out there to more people because nobody really, you know, it takes a lot to really push a record. So no one knew about the record. It was just on my platform. So we was gonna have a certain amount of artists on the records. Some other people, a few other people, you know, I don't want to say names, but it was about 4 or 5 other people in the game who was supposed to be on that record originally. And those situations didn't work out. And not that didn't work out for bad reasons, it just was, okay, trying to find the right person for the record. And it was a few other pretty big New York artists who actually wanted to get on the record, who said they would do it, gave us, you know, their, you know, agreement or whatever, they, you know, because everybody kind of needs to be, we got to make sure it's fair for everybody when you do something with someone. So everybody gave their terms of what they need to be involved. So I was like, you know, when it came to Jim Jones, I thought that was going to be a great situation. So Jimmy actually agreed to get on the record. And that was a blessing from God, of course, you know what I mean? And from that point on, Capone, who was Jim's manager, showed me love from day one. He just was cool, he was professional, he was on top of things, and from that point on, we was working, and he came at me with the situation, and I thought about it, prayed on it, came to life, and we've been moving forward ever since. And the record actually is doing pretty well, and I'm just trusting God that it's gonna continue to do well, but it really just was like something that just happened. It was nothing that planned. It was like so weird because I didn't expect it, to be real with you. It was just like we were just vibing, you know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, it was like, yo, let's get it popping. And I just say to all artists, that's why you gotta keep grinding, and that's why you gotta just walk by faith and not by sight, because you never know who's watching you or who's like paying attention to what you're doing or who's peeping your grind or your hustle, like, or who's even interested in you. You just never know. You gotta just stay pushing, you gotta just stay grinding. But the Vamp Life Empire situation came as a blessing from God, to be real with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just pulled up on us. And, you know, it was love, you know what I'm saying? And it's still love. We're going to get this thing popping. We're going to get it popping.
That's crazy, though, because I was just talking to Trill about the same thing. Being ready to ball when it's your time, that means tons. No matter the prep, no matter the wishing, the praying, all of that. If you don't know how to do it when the light is on you, you can miss a lot of things. So that's.
And one more thing I want to touch on. I got to give a big shout to Kilo, Go To Kilo, because Go To Kilo was the one who actually had everybody up on the Zooyork joint. You know what I'm saying? And that's family. You know what I'm saying? Big shout Go To Kilo. Big shout Team Titan DJs. You know what I'm saying? Can't forget that. So that was part of the answer. So I forgot that part. I was like, actually, yeah, because Kilo was the one that had everybody vibing on the record. Like, he had everybody, like, basically saying they was gonna rock with it, and I really appreciate that.
That matters. If you don't have even the smallest hit, we still, no matter how much technology we have, it's still word of mouth. A lot of things that we do, especially in Atlanta, it's still, oh, you know, such and such. Even when it comes to the scam, hey, how can I get the apartments? How can I get this? It's always word of mouth. So as long as you keep a good rapport with people, you always do good in this city. So
That's a fact. ATL is definitely the black mecca, like New York is. New York is like the world mecca almost, because it's like the capital, like the world trade, everything. But ATL, I can honestly say, as a young black man, I became a homeowner young. I'm talking about in my young 20s, like 23. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I stress that ownership. Own own everything you touch if you can. You know what I'm saying?
So you just set me up perfectly. I thought I was going to be here to set you up, but you set me up perfectly for the next thing, stimulus package and these taxes. I just did an interview and people want to know what you're going to invest in, what you're going to spend your money on, because we've gotten this free money for about a year now. And a lot of people are in no better situations than they were before the pandemic. So coming up with this money that they owe us, that they're giving us.
They giving it back, right?
Exactly.
They giving a little bit of it back.
What do you plan on using your money moving forward, seeing that you're an artist and got your own grind going?
Well, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't got my last 2 stimulus checks, but you know, I guess they gonna send them.
So what would you do if you had them? Where would they be going?
But I mean, investments, man. To be real with you, because I'm been blessed. I'm not a person that really needs to depend on it, but that's from years of saving money and years of preparing and budgeting. I was stacking money. I mean, I'm a saveaholic. I'm a dude, like, I read this book called The Law of Success, and it was like, you got to master the habit of saving, and I read that at a young age, and I was like, the habit of saving, and I became a saveaholic, and also the streets taught me that, because a lot of my dudes is getting in trouble, like, we're getting in trouble, and they ain't got no lawyer money, so it's like, that rainy day money is real, and that goes in all levels of life, you know, like right now, with me, I really, to be real with you, the pandemic was a blessing to me. It gave me a chance to focus on my music, because I was doing too much. Like, before that, you know, I was working, hustling, and music. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight up. Like, I was in the streets, I was in the office, and I was in the studio, because I'm just a G like that. Like, I don't even care. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm from a place where I was taught by the best. I knew my OGs was making 200, 300,000 a day when they was hustling. So to me, there's no limit to what you could do, because I seen it at the best, you know what I'm saying, from a young cat. Like, just seeing some of my older guys that was like street guys, I was like, yo, these niggas was like super niggas, because it was like, yo, the level of bread you saw, I mean, and not everybody saw that, but I was blessed to see and even hear stories from them, like, you said you made how much in what, a day? So it taught me that there's so much money in the world. It's just like, you don't got to do it that way, but if you just think of that concept, like, dude, how can a person get that much money in a day? So it's that much money. If you really got the cold strategy, and whatever you do, you can really get it. And now with the internet and all that, there's so much people you can touch. If you gotta really be diligent, but if you can get the right strategy, the right niche, you can make an endless amount of money in a short period of time. So what I'm investing to, which I've already been investing to, is real estate, you know, option tradings, stocks. Some of my guys doing Forex and all of that. I actually did Forex for a minute. I haven't been doing it lately because I've been busy on music and stuff. But I got, you know, stock options and different, like, real estate property. And I'm looking to buy land. And I'm building, like, you know, houses for my kids and stuff like that. But that's all stuff that's a process. You know, it's not like something you can just do tomorrow. It's all work in progresses. But I would say I'm investing into my merch. You know, I'm investing into
merch. Merch is big. I'm one of the few people. I ain't gonna say few people, because obviously people sell merch. But I'm big on supporting by merch. Even myself, I've been looking at, like, lighters. I'm a smoker, so things that make sense for my brand.
Right.
So and also not being afraid to reinvent the wheel. A lot of people say, "Oh, don't reinvent the wheel," but there's how many different tires that exist, and they eating. So we'll come up with some entrepreneur thinking outside of the box thinking once we got a constant flow of money that I can play with and come up with new ideas. Because when you hungry, the first idea is the only idea, and that's to eat. So we gonna go ahead and close it out with that, with these great financial advice tips, I would say. Yeah. Don't spend your money. Yeah, don't spend your money on thoughts in Atlanta. Don't spend your money in crazy studio sessions in Atlanta. Don't spend your money on wings in Atlanta. What else? What else not to do in Atlanta with your money? Don't be pressured by your baby mama.
Don't fuck it up. Bottom line, don't fuck it off.
Don't fuck it up.
And I want to go ahead and let's ask y'all to please go to all your streaming platforms and check out my new record, Zooyork Giants. That's featuring Jim Jones and Young Ray. Follow me on all platforms at Champ DA General. So it's CHAMP DA GENERAL _GPMAFIA. On all platforms, Champ the General, TikTok, on Facebook, Champ the General, Instagram, Champ the General _GP Mafia. Go stream, please. Add me to your playlist. Please become a monthly listener on Spotify. Also, go to YouTube and check the video out. It's dope. It's Jim Jones, me, Jim Jones, my brother, Young Ray. We in the streets, we in the hood, we out there having fun with the kids. It's a blessing, and it's the new New York anthem, Zooyork Giants. Thank you for having me. Big shout to the big homies over here. You know what I'm saying? We getting it in. Let's do it. Zay the plug. You already know. I appreciate you every time. And we here.
No problem, and we out, yo.
We out.